family. No, let me just say this. Hello, Photo Theology family. Hope everybody is doing well. Hope you guys are staying safe in this coronavirus time that we are in.
All right.
Oh, let me.
Hello.
All right. Sorry about that. Okay, guys. So, welcome to class number 3. Class number 3. Hopefully, for those of you who are on my Instagram, you're hearing me well. Thumbs up if you're hearing me well. If there's no issues there, very good. YouTube family, hopefully you're hearing me well. Facebook family, hopefully you're hearing me well. Let me just say that over the last week, I have gotten videos to the Genesis challenge. I've gotten many videos from people from all over, and I'm telling you, it's just amazing to see how quickly so many of you have picked up on this Genesis challenge. 20 chapters. Some of you got it in under 25 seconds. That's amazing stuff. All right, so for those of you who are joining, this is your first time joining in on this class. All you have to do is go back. If you're on YouTube, you can see the videos there. If you're in the Facebook group, all you need to do is look for class number 1 or class number 2. I'm gonna turn this down here. Class number 1 or class number 2. You'll be able to watch the videos that we did last week and the week before, and that's gonna catch you up, get you all caught up with where we are right now, okay? So again, I wanna just welcome, actually for the first time, welcome our first time students. This is your first time joining the class today. I wanna welcome you guys, and I'm excited because we have more things to memorize, right? Obviously, you know we're gonna finish the book of Genesis today, but I'm gonna share with you something. We are not just memorizing for the sake of memorizing. Remember, the purpose of this class is to teach you how to study the Bible more effectively. And the method we are using is something called phototheology, which is the art of studying the Bible through the use of images. And so what we've been doing, particularly with these in these first few classes, we've been learning how to put an image to the theme of the chapter, and that's how we memorize a chapter, right? So you'll remember that we had our Genesis high-rise building, and in that high-rise building, we've got 50 floors, and we have 50 floors because there are 50 chapters, right? 50 chapters in the book of Genesis. And so for each floor, we created an image that would remind us of what that particular chapter is talking about. Once again, I got some amazing videos. You guys got creative on me. Some of you made images and just showed the images, images that you may have pulled off of online or wherever. Some of you created your own images. Really creative stuff. Some young people, children that are taking up this challenge and sending me their Genesis 1 through 20 memorizations. They're doing it forward, they're doing it backward, they're skipping floors. And all this, guys, in 1 week. 1 week. So I hope that you are catching the potential of this. I hope you're seeing just how potentially game-changing this method of Bible study can be. Now remember, all we're doing right now is just simply memorizing or getting images into our mind that are going to help us to memorize the themes of the Bible. But again, we're going somewhere with this. So what we're going to do in today's class is very simple. We're going to go ahead and finish off the book of Genesis, but I'm going to make a little adjustment that you all were not aware of, but you will be aware of now, okay? I do not want you to memorize the entire book of Genesis as one unit. This is what we're going to do. We're going to split the book up into chapters, into 24 chapters. So here's what I mean by that. There are 50 chapters in the book of Genesis. I want you to memorize 24 chapters first. So the first 24 chapters, and then memorize the last 24, 25 after that. And I'm going to show you why we are doing that, okay? There's a very important reason why we're doing that. So what that means is that most of you memorized Genesis chapter 1 to 20. For those of you who did this exercise, we're simply going to add on 4 more chapters, right, to what you've already memorized. And we're going to call that a unit. We're going to kind of set that aside as its own unit, okay? So let's see if we can just start from the beginning. And you'll remember Genesis chapter 1. You guys are probably going to repeat this with me. Genesis chapter 1, we have the birth of the earth, right? We saw a birthday cake with the number 1 on that cake. Genesis chapter 2 was Adam and Eve, right? So there are 2 people. So you can think of 2 people. Genesis chapter 2, this is the creation of Adam and Eve. Genesis chapter 3 is the fall of Adam and Eve, and the serpent comes in the picture. So when we get in our elevator, we go on the floor 2, the door opens, we see 2 people, Adam and Eve. You could even see the number 2 on their arm, reminding you that this is Genesis chapter 2. Genesis chapter 3, we see Adam, Eve, and the serpent. 3, right? 3. We might see that tree of the knowledge of good and evil in the shape of a 3. We might see the fruit on that tree in the shape of a 3. So this reminds us that this is Genesis chapter 3. All right, you get the idea. We get in the elevator, we go up to floor 4, and there we find the fall, or there we find Cain killing Abel. He's using a rock, and on that rock is the number 4, and the 4 is in red, reminding us of blood. So every time we get to floor 4, we see Cain killing Abel, right? You are locking these images into your mind so that they will trigger a memory of what the basic theme of that chapter is about. Genesis chapter 5, I'm going to try to run through this quickly. Genesis chapter 5, we imagine Adam in a pair of jeans. Adam's genealogy. Adam's genealogy. Genesis chapter 6, we saw the 6 turned on its side to see the shape of a boat. Noah building the ark. Genesis chapter 7, we saw there in Genesis chapter 7, we remembered, or we used the waters rushing into the elevator on floor 7, getting everything wet. Clothes wet, hair wet, everything wet. Every time we go to Genesis, every time we go to the 7th floor, we see the water rushing. We hate that floor because that's where the water rushes in. I want you to experience that. You can even see the water in the shape of a 7 rushing in, or little 7s rushing in, right? Whatever you need to do to make the image stand out. All right, Genesis chapter 8 is Abraham on his journey. Genesis chapter 13, the doors open and we see the 1 and the 3 separating, reminding us reminding us that Abraham and Lot separate. Abraham and Lot separate. In Genesis 14, we see the 1 running with the 4. That's Abraham delivering Lot. In Genesis chapter 15, we saw the 1 and the 5 shaking hands. This is the promise, the covenant between God and Abraham. In Genesis chapter 16, we remembered Ishmael. And let me just make a clarification here. Ishmael, this is not the chapter where Ishmael leaves. We simply use 16 to remind us of Ishmael's age when he did leave. We're going to see that he doesn't leave till chapter 21. So if you want to use a different image, that's totally fine. But just remember, chapter 16 is about Hagar and Ishmael, right? Not Ishmael leaving, simply Hagar and Ishmael. All right, chapter 17, you remember, the 7 is the pair of scissors. The 7 reminds of the circumcision of Abraham's family. Chapter 18, we saw the top 0 of the 8 coming down to meet the bottom zero, the bottom circle of the 8, if you will. That's God comes down to visit Abraham. Chapter 19, we saw fire in the 9. That's Sodom and Gomorrah being destroyed, right? So 9 was the rainbow, 19 is the fire, right? Rainbow in the 9, but in chapter 19, it's fire in the 9. All right, so far so good. And then we ended with chapter 20, which was the 0 laying on its side. Abraham lies to Abimelech. Okay, so that was review. That was review, okay? Remember, what I wanted you to do is to be able to run up and down these floors, skip floors, go backwards until you have these locked into your mind. So we're going to add now 3 more chapters, or 4 more. We're going to add chapter 21, 22, 23, and 24. And we're going to call that a unit, all right? So chapter 21 is where Ishmael leaves and Isaac is born. So imagine the 2 comes before the 1, 21. The 2 comes before, the 2nd comes before the 1st. Remember, who was the promise given to? The promise was given to Isaac, not Ishmael. So remember that when you see 21, the 2nd comes before the 1st. That's how you're going to remember. Or you could say, hey, you know what? When people are 21, it's generally when they're an adult and they leave home. Remember, Ishmael is not 21 when he leaves. But if you want to use a 21 to remember this is the chapter that Ishmael leaves home, feel free to do that. All right. Chapter 22 is where Abraham is tested. Abraham is tested because he's asked to sacrifice his son. So what I want you to imagine, well, let me say this way. What I imagine, you can imagine whatever you want to, all right? These are pictures that I'm using. You can use whatever pictures you feel like using that's going to stick in your mind. So for me, I see a big 2 and a little 2, like father, like son. Big 2, little 2. The big 2 is leading the little 2 to be sacrificed. That's going to remind me that Genesis chapter 22 is about Abraham going to sacrifice his son. All right, 22. 23 is the death of Sarah. And so when I get to floor 23 in my high rise, when the doors open, I see a tombstone. And on that tombstone is the number 23. That's going to remind me, this is the place, this is the chapter that Sarah dies, right? That's chapter 23, okay? And the final chapter in our cluster, in our section, remember we're going 1 to 24, right? So the final chapter, chapter 24, is where Isaac meets Rebekah. Now, when you come in on this, when the elevator doors open here, here's what I want you to see. I want you to see graffiti. And here's what that graffiti is going to say. 2, the number 2, together for, the number 4, ever, right? Together forever. That graffiti on the wall reminds me of Isaac meeting his wife. Yes, you got it? So, set that aside as a cluster. You guys, what I'm about to, I'm not going to share it with you in this class. You're going to learn about this in our next class. So you can go ahead and get excited. You can go ahead and just be like, what is he about to say? You can go ahead and just in advance get excited. But for now, all I want you to do is think about those first 24 chapters and get that locked down in your mind, okay? So let's set that aside, and now we're going to go to from chapter 25 to chapter 50, okay? So let's begin. Chapter 25. What do we have going on in chapter 25? By the way, before I get to that, let me mention this. Those of you who have been in the class may have received a diagram that you could actually fill in the blanks and put in your own images. This is a very powerful tool. If you're using it, praise God. If you're not using it, If you're on Instagram, I want you to look in the link in the description and you will see how to get this diagram. It's like a PDF, but when you download it, you can actually fill out and put in your own description of your own images for each chapter. And it's all on one page. So you can take this out every morning and just look at the images so that you're reminded, right, of what image you came up with to help you remember that chapter. All right, if you're on YouTube, look in the link. If you're on Facebook, if you're in my Facebook group, you already have it because the Facebook group is ground zero for this class, okay? That's the main place for this class. So if you're in the Facebook group, you should have it. If you don't have it, just scroll down a little bit and you will find the link to this Genesis high-rise PDF. All right, so with that said, we're gonna start with chapter 25. Now, in chapter 25, I use a rhyme to remember this chapter. In chapter 25, let me say it this way. In 25, Abraham dies. In 25, Abraham dies. When I get to the elevator floor 25, and the doors open, I see another tombstone, and the number 25 is on that tombstone. But I also see something else. Jacob and Esau are eating pottage over that tombstone. So what does this tell us about chapter 25? Chapter 25 is a chapter where not only Abraham dies, but here you have the story of Jacob and Esau. Here you have the introduction of Jacob and Esau. All right, so lock that in memory's hall. Make the picture as vivid as you possibly can so that you remember floor 25, Abraham dies, Jacob and Esau. All right, that's floor 25. In floor 26, we now have Isaac lying to Abimelech. Now, does that sound familiar? Remember what happened in chapter 20? In chapter 20, you have the 0 laying on its side, right? So that's Abraham lying to Abimelech. Now in chapter 26, you have the same thing. So what do you think we're going to do with that 6? Absolutely. That's right. That 6 is going to be laying on its side, but this time it's Isaac lying to Abimelech. So here's something that you could do. When you get to chapter 20 and you remember Abraham lies to Abimelech, automatically remember, yeah, that also happens in chapter 26, right? Wherever you see similarities, go ahead and remember, yep, these are the 2 chapters where they lie. Chapter 23, floor 23, we see a tombstone. That's the death of Sarah. We're going to remember, yeah, just 2 chapters later, Abraham dies. We're going to see a tombstone there. Okay, so you're doing whatever you can to lock these memories into your mind. So 25, Abraham dies. 26, Isaac lies to Abimelech. Now, in chapter 27, here's what's happening. I want to see if you can get this. In chapter 27, the 2 is, when we get to floor 27, what we see is the 2 is pretending to be the 7. What am I talking about here? The 2 is acting like he is the 7. Yes, yes, yes. That's Jacob imitating Esau. Every time we see that 2 and that 7, we're going to remember they kind of look alike, but they're different. One of them is acting like the other. This is the chapter where Jacob imitates Esau. All right? So that's chapter 27. Now we're going to go to chapter 28. And in chapter 28, I want you to see the 8 as a racetrack. The 8 as a racetrack. And what's happening with this racetrack? What's happening here? Who is fleeing? Who is running for their lives? That's right. Jacob is fleeing from the face of Esau. And he's going to a place called Bethel. B kind of reminds me of that 8. So when I see the 8, I'm thinking this is where Jacob flees to Bethel. Are you with me so far? Again, listen, remember, use whatever image you want to use. If that image is an image that's not going to stick in your mind, you think you can think of something better, by all means, go with that. All right, so that's chapter 28. Now, in chapter 29, I want you to check this out. Those nines are brides. And there's two of them. There are 2 nines. And in fact, on a scale of 1 to 10, let's just say they're both 9s. But Jacob loved one of them more than the other. So in 29, when I get to floor 29, I'm going to remember, this is where Jacob marries Rachel and Leah, right? This is where Jacob marries the 2 brides. Remember the 9. Think of the 9 as a woman, see her 9, shape of a woman, and she's carrying her flowers. But it's 2 of them, 2 nines. Jacob marries the sisters. All right? So that's chapter 29. Chapter 29, Jacob marries his sisters. Chapter 28, Jacob flees to Bethel. Chapter 27, Jacob pretends to be Esau. Chapter 26, Isaac lies to Abimelech. Chapter 25, Abraham dies, and the introduction of Jacob and Esau. Are you with me so far? Thumbs up, hearts, whatever, amen, if you're following. All right. Now we're going to go to chapter 30. And guys, listen, we don't have far to go, okay? Once you get this locked down in your mind, listen to me. Some of you did the first 20 chapters in under 30 seconds. Let me give you a promise. You practice this for just a week, and you'll be able to run through Genesis. I know you're not going to believe me, but just listen, okay? Trust me. You'll be able to run through Genesis in under 45 seconds. And that's being very generous. That's you being slow about it. I promise you. You just practice this for a week. A couple of minutes a day. And by the end of the week, you'll be like, boom, I got this. What do you want to know? What's in that chapter? Oh, let me tell you. What's in that chapter? Oh, let me tell you. All right, so we're going to keep moving. Chapter 30 is where Jacob prospers. So I like to see a 30 like on his chest. Jacob is prospering, right? Every time I get to the 30th floor and the elevator door opens, I see Jacob with a 30 on his chest. And that 30 is like, I am prospering. You can come with another image if you want to. That's on you, right? This is the beauty of this. You get to create your own images. If you would like these images, fine. But you want to learn how to create images because that is the basis of photo theology. It's learning how to think in pictures. All right, that's chapter 30. In chapter 31, we have Jacob, Rachel, and Leah. So how many is that? Jacob, Rachel, and Leah, and these 3 are fleeing from Laban. 3, 1. The 3 are fleeing from the 1. 31 is always going to remind me of Jacob, Rachel, and Leah fleeing from Laban. All right, very good. Genesis chapter 32. What happens in Genesis chapter 32? Well, let me tell you what happens. Genesis 32 is where Jacob wrestles with the angel. Now, to me, this must have been a big angel. This must have been a huge angel. I don't know. I'm just imagining this angel was this angel probably had like huge biceps, like 32-inch biceps. 32-inch biceps. Every time I think of chapter 32, I'm going to remember the angel, 32-inch biceps. Now, okay, you get it. We don't know if the angel had 32-inch biceps, but you get the idea. The device is meant to help us remember that this is the chapter that Jacob wrestles with the angel. Okay, Genesis chapter 33, very easy to remember. Genesis 33 is where the twins meet again. 3 meet again. The twins, 3 and 3, meet again. Jacob and Esau meet again. after a very long time. So every time I see 33, the twins. 32, 32-inch arms. 31, the 3 are running from the 1. 30, Jacob prospers. Are you following this? 30, Jacob prospers. I hope you're catching this. I hope you're catching this. Okay? All right. 29, 2 brides. 28, flees to Bethel. You got it? 27? All right. You just keep refreshing this. You keep going back and forth in your mind until you have these images locked down. Okay, what chapter are we on? We're on chapter 34. So chapter 34, this is the chapter that Dinah is raped or violated. So when I get to floor 34, I'm going to see all her brothers, and they're wearing the number 34 on their shirts, on their t-shirts, in protest of what has happened to Dinah. Okay, that's my image. Every time I get to floor 34, I see a bunch of angry brothers, and they're wearing 34 in protest of what happened to their sister Dinah. Okay, lock that image into your mind. In chapter 35, we have another rhyme. Rachel dies. Rachel dies. So remember, 25, Abraham dies. 35, Rachel dies. When I open the elevator floor for floor 35, I'm seeing a picture of, I'm seeing a tombstone. There's another tombstone. So far, tombstones are on 23, 25, and 35, right? 23, Sarah. 25, Abraham. 35, 35 is Rebecca. Did I get that right? 35, Rebecca dies. And when Rebecca dies, not only does Rebecca die, but she has a son named Benjamin. Benjamin. So I'm going to see Benjamin on the baby Benjamin on top of this tombstone. So it reminds me at the same time, Rachel. I knew I was getting mixed up. Rachel dies, not Rebecca. When Rachel dies, she has Benjamin, right? As she's dying, she has Benjamin. So I'm going to see Benjamin on top of that tomb with Rachel as the one who has died. All right, so 35, Rachel dies. Also, Benjamin is born. Every time I get to floor 35, Rachel dies. Rachel dies. Rachel dies. Not Rebecca dies, guys. Rachel dies. Rachel dies. Okay, floor 36. Floor 36. Now, this is going to be this is going to remind you of something else, because in floor 36, we have the genealogy of Esau. Very simple, right? These are Esau genes. In this chapter, Esau genes, and they're not very popular. The Adam genes were cool. The Adam genes, the 5 genes were cool. The Noah genes, the 10 genes were cool. The Esau genes, not very popular. No one likes the 36s. They're just not popular at all. Every time I get to floor 36, I'm going to remember Esau's genes. All right. Now, these next ones are going to be very rapid, guys. Very easy to remember. Chapter 37. Chapter 37 is a story of Joseph with the coat of many colors. So guess what? Very simple. Joseph is the 3 and the 7 is his coat. Did you catch that just now? Joseph is the 3 and the 7 is his coat. Every time I get to floor 37, I see the 3 and I see the 7 as Joseph's coat. I'm going to remember this is the chapter about Joseph's coat. Now, floor 38 is a floor that I don't really like too much. Why? Because on that floor, there's no bottom. You open the elevator door and there is no bottom. It's just like straight down. Why do we use that as floor 38? Because floor 38 is where Judah falls. Judah's moral failure. All right? Judah's fall. So every time I get to floor 38, elevator doors open, I'm not going out there. Why? That's Judah's fall. That's where Judah falls. Okay. Chapter 39 Chapter 39 is the story of Potiphar's wife. So when I get to floor 39, the elevator door opens, I see a hotel room, and on that hotel door is the number 39. You get the picture. This is Potiphar's wife attempting to seduce Joseph. Okay, guys, 39, Potiphar's wife. 38, Judah's moral fall. 37, Joseph and his coat of many colors. 36, Esau's genes. 35, Rachel dies and Benjamin is born. 34, you get the idea. We just continue to go back and we continue to refresh this in our minds until these images are, remember, a picture is worth 1,000 words. Guys, good news. We only have 10 chapters left. So, chapter 40. Chapter 40 is about the butler and the baker. So when I get to chapter 40, all I'm going to see is when the elevator door opens, I see both the butler and the baker, and they both have the number 40 on their aprons. The butler and the baker. Or you might imagine it on their hats, or their hats, their chef hat with the number 40 on it. However you want to imagine it, chapter 40, butler and the baker. In chapter 41, listen carefully, in chapter 41, the one is rising, rising, rising. It's strange. Every time this elevator door opens, I see a 4 and a 1 right there, and the 1 just rises and rises and rises. Why? Because in chapter 41, this is where Joseph is exalted to a position of authority. Joseph is exalted to a position of authority. Now, let's go to chapter 42. Now, in chapter 42, there's a great big bus. I want you to imagine a yellow bus, and that bus is taking the brothers to Joseph for the first time. So every time I go to chapter floor 42, I see a big yellow bus with the number 42 on the side, and the brothers are going to see Joseph. But they don't know it's Joseph. And Benjamin is not on that bus. Benjamin gets on the 43 bus. He missed the 42 bus 42, but he gets on bus 43. Are you getting the idea? 42 is the brother's first visit to Egypt, to Joseph. 43 is the brother's second visit to Joseph, but this time with Benjamin. All right, you got it, guys. I believe you are getting this. 43, big yellow bus, brother's second visit. 42, big yellow bus, brother's first visit. You getting the idea? 41, Joseph is elevating. 40, the butler and the baker. 40 on their hats or 40 on their aprons, right? 39, oh, that's Hotel 39. 38, oh man, I hate heights. I'm not getting on that floor. Why? That's where Judah falls. All right, so let's go back to floor 44. Floor 44 is the chapter where the cup was put into Benjamin's sack. So what do you think that cup looked like? Well, it was gold probably, and it had 2 handles. And those 4, the 4 and the 4 are the handles for this cup. So every time I see the cup and I see the number 44, 4 is one handle, 4 is the other handle. Imagine the 4's turned, faced in, and they're connected. That's the handle of the cup. The 4 and the 4. Every time I get to floor 44, I'm going to see a huge cup and the numbers 4 turned inward as the handles. All right. Now, 45 is another rhyme. 25, Abraham dies. 35, Rachel dies. 45 is another rhyme, but it's not a death. Instead, it's when the brothers realize that Joseph is, come on, let's see how well you can rhyme. Alive. Yes, you got it, guys. You got it. You got it. 45, Joseph is alive. 45, Joseph is alive. So whatever image you want to use for that, for Joseph being alive, if you just want to use the rhyme, that's totally fine. Another rhyme. 45, Joseph is alive. All right. 4 chapters left? 5 chapters left? How you guys feeling? I hope you're feeling confident. And remember, guys, we're doing this for a purpose. Next week, when we get together again, you're going to see something that is absolutely going to be mind-blowing that you have done that you don't even realize you have done yet or have set the foundation to do. I can't even, my master class, I went over this yesterday with you guys. You guys know this already if you happen to be on, if you happen to be watching. But for you guys, I'm telling you, try to get this down. And listen, send in your videos. Even if you're shy and you don't want to do a video, send in an audio. Or just send me a message saying, hey, I'm too shy to put myself on camera, but guess what? I got the first 24 and I got the second 20. I got it all down, Pastor. I was able to do it. Just send me. Let me know that you're able to do this. I think that you should be challenging your friends to do this. You want to get someone involved in the Bible? You want to get someone revive them? Give them this challenge. Tell them how to do it and tell them to do their TikTok or whatever. Do this. Challenge someone to do this, and you will get people involved in the Bible in a way that they may not have been for a long time. All right, so we got to wrap this up, guys. 44 is the cup. 45, Joseph is alive. 46 is the brothers or Jacob comes to Egypt. Okay, so what we're going to do this time, 46, we're going to see a huge airplane. And that airplane is Air Egypt Flight 46. Where are they going? Where's all the Jacob and the whole family? Where are they going? They are going to Egypt. Right? That's Flight 46. Flight 47 is Air Goshen. Because remember, this is chapter 47 is where they settle in the land of Goshen. So, Flight 46, Air Egypt. Flight 47, Air Goshen. All right, guys. Very good, guys. You guys are doing very, very good. We only got 3 chapters left. Chapter 48. Chapter 48 is where Joseph blesses Ephraim and Manasseh. I'm sorry. Not Joseph. Jacob blesses Ephraim and Manasseh. Remember, he puts his hands on both their heads. So I want you to imagine the 2 circles of the 8. One is Ephraim, one is Manasseh, and he puts his hands on their heads and blesses them. That's the 4 blessing the 8. The 2 circles of the 8. Jacob is blessing Ephraim and Manasseh. All right, that's chapter 30. That's chapter 48. Chapter 49 and chapter 50, we're going to put those 2 together. Why? Because 49 is where Jacob dies and 50 is where Joseph dies. So we're going to see 2 more tombs, and the tombs both have J's on them. JJ. 49, the death of Jacob. 50, the death of Joseph. All right, guys. So we have just completed the entire book of Genesis. Now remember, the next video that you do, I don't want you to do these together, right? I don't want you to go all the way from 1 through 50. I want you to go 1 to 24 and then pause. You say, okay, that's the first section. It's important that you do that. Stop at 24 and then start again from 25 all the way to 50. And I want you to practice 25 to 50 just like you did 1 to 24. I want you to be able to go backward, forward, go up floors, go down floors. I want someone to say to you, hey, what's in Genesis chapter 40? And you should be able to say the butler and the baker. Hey, what's in Genesis chapter 11? You should be able to say the Tower of Babel. Hey, what's in Genesis chapter 47? Oh, that's Flight Goshen, where they go to Goshen, right? Any chapter that is mentioned, you should be able to say, oh, that's what's in the chapter. That's what's in the chapter. Now, let me share something else very quickly, and then I'm going to let you guys go. There are other events that happen in this chapter. So if there's something you want to remember in particular, for example, in chapter 49, this is where all the brothers are prophesied over, right? Jacob prophesies over all his sons. So if you want to add that into your image, feel free to do that, right? If there's certain things in some of these chapters that you really want to remember, you have the freedom to say, okay, yep, I want to add this into this chapter, and this is how I'm going to remember it. So I'm just saying that to let you know that these are not the only things that are in these chapters, but these are the big picture events of each chapter. Okay, so with that said, this week's challenge, guys, this week's challenge is to produce the entire book of Genesis. So for those of you who've already done Genesis 1 through 20, you're good to go with 20. I just want you to now go from 25 to, or you can even redo 1 through 24, and then a second one for 25 through 50. Here's what's going to happen. Next week, when we get together again, I am going to introduce a new concept to you that is going to just totally blow your minds. And beloved, trust me, this is just the foundation stuff, right? Even what I'm sharing with you next week, what I'm going to share with you next week, it is just foundation stuff. It is still very basic and elementary, but it is crucial if you want to get an accurate understanding of how to use images to better study the Bible and to learn the Bible, to know the Bible in such a way as you have never before. All right, we're good to go, guys. Let's see. I told you 20 minutes, right? I think we've been on for just slightly longer. So once again, my apologies. I'm going to really work to try to get this down, guys, to 20, 25 minutes or so, okay? But I just kind of get carried away when I'm sharing with you guys because this is fun stuff. This is fun stuff. All right, guys, thank you. God bless you. Send me your challenges. Send me video of your challenges, please. I will post them. I'll put them up on my channel. Other people get encouraged when they see it, and especially you kids that are watching. I love those videos, so please send me your kids, your young people doing this challenge, and it's going to be a blessing to many people watching. So until then, guys, I will see you next week. God bless you, and keep that fire burning.